There's some offbeat rhythms in the trumpet 2 part that are not easy. Dotted quarter, eighth note rhythms, which are notoriously bad for a lot of students. You guys handled pretty well. So rhythmically, I think you're doing well. Let's talk about the start. When you see professional groups start, they almost never count. Sometimes you see jazz bands count, but that's more of just a looking cool thing than a real musical thing. So when chamber groups start, you just start with a breath. So who did the counting? Okay, so you're in charge of starting. So everybody, just pay attention to him. You have to take a really clear breath. Take the breath in time. So you take the breath right on beat 2, right as it's the pickup to the first note. You guys just pay attention to him, take the breath with him, and start without any counting. Give it a try. Not bad. Do it again. When you take your breath, make sure it's O-shaped. Don't go but H-O-O-H, whole, open breath. Okay? Yeah. So I think that's at least as clean, if not cleaner, than when you started before with counting, right? It forces you to be a little more focused, and that's how we start anyway. The way we start is breathe and play. So why do anything more than that? The last note of a phrase, and especially in classical era music, which Mozart obviously is, the last note of a phrase can be a little fatter than what's written. So, dee-da-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da. Never dee-da-da-da-da. You never want to clip. And he does this to you a bunch of times here. Measure 12 with the eighth note release in the trumpets. I know that it's an eighth note, but don't let the sound, when we get da, 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 it's not just a shortness thing, it's a tone thing. We don't want any note to not have good tone. Da, 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 da. So even if it's shorter, it still has to be a solid note. It still has to make a good sound. Letter E should be piano, right? And that should be a huge contrast because you just got done playing forte and then mezzo forte leading into F, which should be a really noticeable difference. But we have to make those changes, and especially with only a few people, each person has to do a ton of change to make that work. Someone tell me where your hardest measure is.
Probably 25 or 27.
Okay, 25, 27. Anybody have a different hardest measure?
Like 68 to 70.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly got the most notes there, right? So when I get a new piece of music, I find the hardest thing and attack it first. Right? If you're playing a video game and you have to fight a bunch of characters, you find the one who's most likely to kill you and you kill him first. Right? What is the thing that is most dangerous? Eliminate that. Right? So, you got the hardest thing, attack that first. And make sure that's great, because that's going to be fun. You're not really going to have to work on that much. But that's probably going to take some work. So you got to start there. All right? Cool. Thanks, guys.